to God the Beloved. Om Soham Tattvamasi. Om. You and I are one with the one universal God of all creation and no other. Jai Bhagavanji. Victory to God the Beloved, that beloved universal I am that I am, which you are. The goal of the wave is to return to the sea. The goal of each soul that comes out from God, within God, is to return to God. There's no other goal. There is no other objective than that we who emanate out into this creation of God's will return home to God. That is our goal. That is our purpose. That is our dilemma. Because we are in effect trapped in this world. I've been severely criticized by some people for not recognizing the beauty of the world. Yeah, it's a beautiful world. It's a wonderful world. It's a fantastic world. I want you to imagine yourself for a moment living in a place that has a gym, a jacuzzi, a big theater that you can sit in and watch any movie that you choose, a great kitchen with all of the culinary devices that you can imagine, a swimming pool to swim in, all of the amenities that you could possibly want. The best bed, the best mattress, the finest clothes, silk sheets. I hate silk sheets. Silk sheets. Silk pajamas. I don't like those either, but some people do. I want you to imagine that you are living in this place. All of the things that you could possibly imagine that are beautiful and wonderful. The decorating is impeccable. The color coordination is fantastic. The furniture is the most comfortable and most beautiful you've ever seen. The servant will get you anything you want, any time of night or day. The maid will bring you anything that you want, any time of night or day. You don't have to lift a finger. You don't have to pay a dime. Got it? Get the picture. But now here's the thing. You can never leave it. You can never leave it. And if you do escape for a time, you will be caught and brought back. You'll be brought back. You see, this world is beautiful. It's fantastic. It's magnificent. Or at least that's the way we see it. Until you realize, and our bodies are wonderful. So, well, this one's got a little too much wonderful right here. I'm on these hormone treatments for the prostate cancer, and losing this is kind of like, you know, I don't know, losing this. But our bodies are wonderful. You know, we can smell things that are good. We can see beautiful sunsets. We can feel things with our hands. You can touch somebody else's hand and go, oh, that's wonderful. But then you stop and think that this body is like that house. This world is like that house. Beautiful. Everything that you could possibly want. If you're into golf, it has an 18-hole complete golf course. Oh, there's just one road. There's nobody else to play with you. You can only play by yourself. Because only you are in there. So, It's beautiful until all of a sudden you realize, I can't leave this thing. And if I do leave it, I'm going to come back again and end up in this one or in another one like it. And all of a sudden, the picture changes, doesn't it? All of a sudden, you realize that this beautiful palace is also a beautiful prison. I know that a lot of you want me to talk positive, want me to make you feel good. My little brother, God rest him, God bless him, was a heroin addict. Started taking heroin when he was probably 15 years old, died when he was in his mid-30s. Wore his body out. I asked him, why, Dave, why do you take this crud? He said, because when I take it, I am in perfect bliss. No pain, no strain, no nothing. I am just in heaven. If heaven is a place where there's no pain. I said, yeah, but you got to come back. He said, that's why I got to take more. I said, well, what happens when you can't get more? He said, then I get really angry and I go and rob places and I do things like that. I said, so you're a prisoner of your own bliss. You're a prisoner of your own pleasure. You're a prisoner of your own freedom from pain because you've got to come back time after time and do it again and again and again and again and again. And eventually, after something like 12 overdosings, which my mother, God rest her soul, God bless her, would go out in her car in the middle of the night and find him and rush him to an emergency room and save him. He quietly laid down on the couch one day, and my mom was in the kitchen, and she said, all she heard was Dave said, Mom. And she walked in there, she finished a couple of dishes and walked in there, and he was dead. Now, if that were the end of it, if that were the end of the story, that might not be as bad as you might think. He was finally free of pain. No body. See, without nerve endings, you don't feel pain. Without a brain, you don't feel pain. You know the old saying, no pain, no brain. Isn't that what they say? No, that's not what they say. But that's what I say. No pain, no brain. So that might not be so bad. Except there's one little glitch here, you see. And that is called, well, some people call it transubstantiation. Some people call it spirit transfer, soul transfer. Some people call it reincarnation. The fact of the matter is that you're going to come back and do this dance over and over again until you finally attain liberation. See, I like to dance. I love to dance. I love to rock and roll. It's the best exercise there is, by the way, if you're looking for exercise. Don't pay your money to a gym. Just get yourself some really gnarly rock and roll from the 60s and dance to it. You'll wear yourself out. You'll burn up calories. I tell you, and you'll be very tired. It's a lot better than going out jogging. A lot more fun, too. Or take it out to the park with you and dance out there. You might get people dancing with you. You never know. I'm a little off the subject. But the point I'm trying to make here is that even if you love dancing, you don't want to dance all the time. Suppose somebody came up and put a gun to your best friend's head or your wife's head or your husband's head and said, if you stop dancing, I'm going to shoot him. Wouldn't this joy of dancing and rocking and rolling or ballroom dancing or whatever it was, wouldn't that suddenly become a horror show? Of course it would. Of course it would. Because you would be a prisoner. And we are all prisoners of our own design. We are all prisoners of our own karma. Karma being the results of our actions in the world. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. That's physics. In the human realm, it says that everything that you cause in this world, you will eventually experience the results of that action for yourself. Now, experiencing the action and the results are two different things. You know, this is my holy book, so I don't think anybody's going to kill me for using my own holy book. If I go over and I pop somebody on the head with this holy book, and then I go, oh, we're even. Great, isn't that great? I fulfilled my karma. No, not really. I go over and bop this poor person over here on the head with this holy book, and they go, oh, Maitreya hit me on the head with a holy book, and staggers out the door and gets hit by a car, then my karma would extend to the guy going out, getting hit with the car, the guy who hit him with the car and killed him. My karma would extend to that whole sequence, that whole scenario of events. Plus the guy who hit him going to court, losing his house because he had to spend all of his money on a lawyer, his kids going out and becoming gangbangers, and holding up banks for a living because they didn't have any way to support their parents. See, karma is a gnarly thing. It's a big thing. It means that you're responsible for all of the effects that come from your causes. Oh, I can just hear people buzzing offline now. Oh, you guys a big buzzkill. Listen, folks, let's get something straight right off the bat, okay? I've had so many people, and I'm so tired of it, frankly. So many people come here and go, well, I don't like what you teach. I'm going to go find somebody that teaches something better. Eh? Let's think about that. Suppose I teach gravity. I teach that if you take this book and you drop it, look, falls to the ground. Now, if you are this book and you go up on the roof and you jump off the roof and you're going to fall to the ground and you're probably going to get pretty badly hurt, maybe even killed. And you say, oh, you're really negative, Maitreya. I'm going to go find somebody that'll teach me positive things like, well, if I drop the book, it'll go up in the air, or it'll just hover there in the air, or if I fall off of the roof, nothing will happen to me. Go ahead. Go ahead. Do you think for one single minute, because you find somebody that has glued together a cheap rationalization for positive thinking and New Age philosophy, that you are going to change gravity one bit? You know you're not. What you're going to do is delude yourself. What you're going to do is put yourself into a situation where you are subject to being terribly injured or maybe even killed by your idiotic denial of gravity. I know you don't like to hear about karma. I know you don't like to hear about having to come back here time after time. I know you don't like to hear about the misery of the world. I know some of you think that I'm a very negative person because I talk about these things. See, I don't have to talk about the good things. You know about the good things. The good things are easy. You experience them all the time and you go, boy, that sure feels good. I tell you, I was so tired a couple nights ago. My cat usually sleeps with me, one of my cats. Sometimes two, sometimes three do, and that makes it very difficult. But my one cat usually does. And I crawled into bed. I usually sit there and I pet him and I scratch him, I flea comb him and do things like that. Make him feel good. But that night I was so tired, I just flipped off the light and I crawled down into bed and this feels so good. And I was out like a light. See, that felt really good. That felt really good. But you don't have to worry about the good things. Nobody needs to come along and raise a red flag about the good things and say, watch out for the good things. You don't want to feel good, but you watch out for that now. You don't have to do that. And I can legitimately, I heard a guy last night, he was a comedian, and he was a Jewish guy, and somebody made a Jewish comment. He said, you can't say that, I can. And then the black guy said, another guy said something, the black guy said, you can't say that, I can. Well, see, I'm from Iowa. I'm from corn country, farm country, so I can talk like this without insulting my Oklahoma, Tennessean brothers and sisters, because they understand. I'm not mocking them. But back to the point. The point is that you can go and find people who will tell you all the right things that you want to hear. Beware of people who tell you what you want to hear. If you go to somebody and they tell you all the things you want to hear, you go, I don't need to hear this because I already know it. I'm gone. See? You come to me, I'm going to tell you the truth. Whether it harms me or whether it doesn't harm me. So you can't be a politician. Because you can't be a politician that way. You got to look at the data on the, the polls say today that I got to be, what is it today? Oh, it's against abortion. Okay, well, I'm against abortion. No more abortion. A couple days later, polls come out and go, oh, look at here, this is for abortion. Only I can't call it abortion, I have to call it choice. I'm for choice. You see, all this guy wants is your votes. I'm in a different position. I don't want your money. I've made my own way my whole life. I don't want your money. I don't want your children. I want you to have your children. I want you to raise them good. I want you to raise them well. I want you to raise them so that they recognize God in all and all in God. So that their compass is pointed in the right direction of morality. So that they have compassion for their fellow human beings. And they love their neighbor insofar as they're able to do so. That's what I want. I don't want your car. I got a car. I don't want your horse either because I can't ride one. Never have been able to. I don't want your surfboard. I can't ride that either. I don't want anything that you have. I want you to do two things. One is to attain self-realization within this life. And two is to help me create a divine critical mass wherein God will spread His new covenant to all souls, and all souls will have the opportunity to go home into perfect final union with God at the end of their lives. And we will have achieved universal salvation and liberation. And in doing so, incidentally, although not a small thing, we will have secured the continued survival of humanity. Those two things. Those two, and you notice they're both connected to the same hand. Well, look, no tricks. Both sides connected to the same hand. Self-realization and universal salvation. Self-realization, universal salvation. They go together. They go together just as surely as grace and works go together. Now, there are people in this world that say, works don't mean anything. It's only grace that gets you there. Oh, you poor deluded folk. Believe what you wish. Believe that gravity's not going to pull you to the ground. Believe that drinking arsenic isn't going to kill you, or bringing cyanide isn't going to kill you. Go ahead, believe whatever you want. That's the beauty of America, is a free country. You can believe anything you want, so far. Unless you get careless and let people take it away from you. But it's not going to help you. So I'm going to tell you the dirty, get down hard, street level truth. And that is that you are born again and again and again and again and again and again, a million times, a billion times, a trillion times. It doesn't make any difference until you find your way home into perfect final union with God. Now, when the light of that perfect final union dawns upon you in this world, while you're still wrapped up in this body, it's called self-realization. After you've left this body, and you no longer have a body, you're no longer in the world, it's called perfect final union and perfect total freedom. So what we're after in this world, the best we can accomplish in this world, is how would you like to know in your heart, be absolutely certain that you and God are one? You see, God is immense. This whole creation. Now, when I talk about creation, I'm not just talking about the world. I'm talking about, not just talking about our solar system or our galaxy or our universe. I'm talking about all of creation. All of the universes. Everything that's comprised of creation. You take all of that, excuse me, and compress it down into something the size of a grain of sand. And then you go take that grain of sand and throw it out into the Sahara Desert, and you will know about approximately how big God is with regard to creation. Only even that's not big enough. It's a representative sample. It's an analogy, a metaphor. This whole creation exists within God, somewhat similar to the way a single grain of sand exists within the Sahara Desert. Now, on that grain of sand are all of the universes that exist. And somewhere inside of that grain of sand, down at the subelectronic, subatomic level, is the Earth. And on that subatomic particle is this city, or your city, and in that city, in the subatomic particle of that grain of sand, is you. Now, do you want to be that? Or do you want to be the Sahara Desert? Do you want to be the drop of water, or do you want to be the ocean? We see the sad fact is that you can't be the ocean until you've given up this body. And it doesn't do any good to commit suicide, because until you have attained self-realization, until you have attained the pathway home into perfect final union with God, you're just going to come back again. Killing yourself is silly. There's this crazy movie by, what's his name? I see his face. It's called Groundhog Day. Not a really great movie, but you know, if you want to kind of get the flavor of this thing, go get that movie. Bill Murray. Pretty funny movie. Get Groundhog Day. The basic plot, and I won't give it all away because it really is a funny movie, is that this guy gets a chance to fix up things with this lady, and every day he wakes up is the same day, starting over. Sounds good. Watch the movie. You'll get a couple of belly laughs and you'll get the idea. I won't spoil it for you right here. So this is kind of like Groundhog Day. Every lifetime is like Groundhog Day. We start over. Sometimes we start over in a good place, and if you're listening to this on the internet, you're in a better place than 92.5% of the human race. A better place. Who knows? Next time we can be part of the 92.5%. Maybe we can be part of the bottom 4%. Oh, that is not good. Oh, there he goes. He's scaring me now. He's scaring me. You know, if the house was burning down and I didn't scare you into running out of the house, I would be a criminal. I go, oh, there's no problem. You know, it's just, oh, you're just having a hot flash, that's all. Just sit there and enjoy it, and I'll walk out the door and you burn to death. Are you crazy? Are you crazy? That would be criminal. I've got to tell you the truth. And the truth is, you're going to be born into this world again. You will go to heaven, and you'll also go through hell, because hell is kind of a purgatory in reality. It's not a place where the guy with the pitchfork is. You will go through that. But then, after you've gone through hell and then heaven, if you read your Bible, if you're a Christian, you'll see that when Jesus left his body after being assassinated on the cross, he went to hell and stayed 3 days. Then he went and sat at the right hand of the Father. That's what we all do. But there's another stage that it doesn't talk about. And that is that when you have used up all of your blessings in heaven, then you take one of two paths. You either go by the path of the sun or you go by the path of the moon. You either go by the left-hand path or the right-hand path. The path of the moon representing woman, is that you will be reborn again into this world through a woman. Or perhaps a test tube if science keeps on. But at least now for a woman, through a woman. To live another life. To suffer, to sorrow, to fight, to struggle. To get sick, to get old, and to die again. To be reborn again. Each time that you go through this, you have a possibility. You have a crossroads. You can go the right-hand path, if you've done everything right in this life, or you can go the left-hand path. The right-hand path is called the path of the sun, because the sun represents the Father, God. And I know a lot of you feminists don't like this, and I know a lot of women get tweaky about this, but you know, we're talking about religion here, not politics. Keep your politics where they belong, in the bathroom. Okay? If you can't follow this because you have a political bias, then tune out. So, if you go by the path of the sun, that means you go home into perfect final union with God. Now, in reality, God does not have genitals, and so He's not a man or a woman. We use the term he, traditionally. You want to use the term she? Go ahead. I'm not going to play into that. So, you go home into perfect final union with God. Never to be reborn again. Never to suffer again. Never to die again. Never to know pain and sorrow again. So the cycle is death, hell, heaven, and either the right-hand path, which is the path of the sun, that goes home into perfect final union with God, or the left-hand path, which is the path of the moon, that brings you back into this world to live that life all over again. Now this is the way it is. This is not debatable. It's the way it is. How do I know? Because I died when I was 8 years old. I went through this cycle when I was 8 years old. And I did it a second time in 1977. This is not some tunnel thing where you see lights and stuff. This is reality. You want to talk about reality TV? Yeah, you ain't seen nothing yet, brother. But hopefully you will. Hopefully you will see the day when you go home into perfect final union with God. But in this world, I've talked so much about God's new covenant and about God's promise and about creating divine critical mass. Let me focus on this problem for a minute. This is self-realization. It is important to you to attain self-realization within this life. Why? Well, I don't know. Is peace of mind important to you? Is serenity important to you? Is the removal of the fear of death, is that important to you? I don't mean to be stupid, like you're going to walk into a fire and get toasted. But we all carry, well, I forget what tribe it was exactly, but one of the American Indian tribes used to say they always carried death on their left shoulder. Or maybe it's the right shoulder, don't quibble. The left shoulder. So that when they were going to do something, they would consult with death and see how this thing would look if they were going to die. Quite a good idea. So we all carry death on our left shoulder. We try to ignore it. Get out of here, get out of here. I'll have another drink, or I'll have another joint, or I'll snort some more coke, or I'll shoot some heroin, or I'll have more sex. That'll do it. Doesn't do it. It's always there in the background, whispering, you're gonna die. You're gonna die. But you don't listen. And so you go through life wasting a good lifetime. Right now you have a good lifetime. See, this thing's a little too fat, and it's got prostate cancer. I've had it since 2001. Thanks to God, I've been fighting it, and I'm winning the fight. Thanks to God and my doctor, who's a wonderful guy, who's a very religious man. He happens to be a Christian. I happen to be the Maitreya. There's no problem. There's no problem. So you need to work towards self-realization. It's very important because self-realization changes everything. Now, an old former member, well, I don't really think of anybody as a former member. There's no such thing as an ex-Maitreyan. There's former Maitreyans, just like there's no such thing as an ex-Marine. There's former Marines. You never stop being a Maitreyan. We used to call it Adhyamawadi. We used to call it devotee. We used to call it disciple. Doesn't matter what word you use, but there's no such thing as an ex-Maitreyan. You can no more become an ex-Maitreyan than you can send your birth certificate back to the hospital where you're born and say, take me off the rolls, I wasn't born. Yes, you were. Yes, you were. That doesn't mean you have to do what I say. That doesn't mean you have to be part of our community, but it's always going to be with you. It'll be there when you need it, no matter what you do. So, it's important that you achieve self-realization. Now, one of my former Maitreyans was very upset because he said, I always wanted it, I always hoped to get it, but I never got it. At that time, I was preaching the doctrine that you have to have direct personal experience of God in order to have self-realization. Because that's the way I got it. I died. It's very simple. Now, if you want to do what I did, don't do this at home, okay? It's like the guy who tumbles his car 15 times and climbs out of it. Don't do this at home, because it won't get you to perfect final union with God. All it'll do is get you another life burdened with more karma for having taken your own life. So it's stupid. Don't do it. Don't do it. But that's how I got there. I died. I fell off a flight of stairs with my little brother clutched to my chest and hit the floor with the back of my head, and for a time my body died. And I was liberated to go into perfect final union with God. It will not work for you. Don't try it. All that will happen is you'll wake up in diapers, or wake up with stuff all over your backside, screaming your lungs out for food. Yeah, you'll be a baby. Don't do it. But that's how I did it. So I came back to this world thinking that this is what everybody has to do. Everybody has to have direct personal experience of God. That's the only way. That belief stuff's no good. I used to say, every belief contains a lie. If you look at the central three letters of belief, it's L-I-E. Well, the lie is you haven't had the experience. And that all seemed right from my perspective. It wasn't right. It wasn't right. I don't care how you get to self-realization. That's for the gurus. That's for the teachers. That's for the money makers. That's for the people who exploit the New Age for their own advantage. I don't care how you get there so long as you get there. I don't have a vested interest in saying that my way of getting there is the only way. My way will get you there. And a lot of other ways won't. But I don't have a vested interest in that. I don't care if you use somebody else's way. I don't care if you use 5, 10, 15 other ways to get there. So long as I can get you to self-realization, that's my goal. Now, what is my way? Well, after I had my first death experience and was sent back to this world by God to find my way home of my own works and my own doing, I tried everything. I did yoga, I did sabut, I did everything I could, including drugs at one time. And some of them gave interesting results. But the problem with drugs is it's kind of like sitting down in front of a bay window and having somebody open the curtains and you look out there and you go, whoa, look at that. And just when you're getting into it, somebody closes the curtains. You see, in order to do anything, you got to get up off your backside and you got to go out the door and be part of what you saw out there. And most people don't. They're content to just take the drug again, get the curtains open and go, wow, that's really cool, man. No good. That's the problem with drugs. Don't do them. They're not going to take you there. But eventually, I got back to that spot. Now, how did I get there? At one point, I went from embracing the world, the world's greatest tree hugger. I love the trees, I love the sky, I love the birds, I love the grass, I love everything. And then I began to look around. I looked at Cambodia, and I saw that my participation foolishly and dull-wittedly in the anti-war movement, quote unquote, wasn't really a participation in the anti-war movement. What it was a participation in was the pro-Vietnamese communist movement. And when the Marxists and the communists went into Cambodia, they killed 1/3 of the human population there. And that's on my karma. And I saw that. And that hit me one night while I was meditating. And I said, I don't want this, I don't want this. Where's the beautiful stuff? Give me the beautiful stuff. And it wouldn't go away. I felt the weight of those people because I had been out in the street stopping Pol Pot and the killing fields and all of those people that were massacred. The communists of this world have murdered in cold blood more than 126 million people since communism got a grip on Russia in the early 1900s. I think it was 1918. And that weighed on my conscience. It wouldn't go away. And then I began to see the injustice, the inhumanity of man against man, man against woman, women against men. The horrid slave trade that goes on in this country, the debauchery that goes on in this country. And not this country, I mean this world, I'm sorry. This country is the best. We've got a bit of it here, but not like the rest of the world. But I began to see what went on, the horrible things that go on in this world. And I thought, oh my God, I'm losing. I can't see the beauty in the trees anymore because I see the blood dripping from the trees, from the torn, broken bodies of children that are exploited and used by monsters in this world. And the grief of the parents that lost them. And suddenly I wanted out. I wanted out of here. I wanted out of here so bad. And then I looked at myself and I said, look, I'm stuck in this prison of skin. Look at yourself. Look at if there's other people in the room with you right now, look at them. That's right, look at them. Can you feel what they're feeling? Oh, yeah, I'm very empathetic. No, you can't. If somebody in the room secretly, all you put your arms behind you, and somebody in the room pinch yourself really hard on the arm. Don't show anything. Pinch yourself real hard. Okay, you. Tell me which person pinched himself. No, of course you don't know. How about you? You don't know either, do you? Who pinched themselves? You? That's what I thought, but that was just a guess because I saw you wince. We're in a prison of skin. Your nervous system and my nervous system do not connect. Your brain and my brain don't connect. When you say to somebody, I've got a really terrible headache, they go, yeah, I know what you mean, man. They don't know what you mean, man. Because they don't know what a real headache feels like to you. They just know what a real headache feels like to them. And so we do the best we can. But the fact of the matter is we are alone, we're isolated, we're alienated in these prisons of skin. And I want it out. I want to be part of all of it. Not the trees and all that, but what's beyond all of it, what's the essence of all of it. And so I compounded a prayer. And it went like this. Oh my God, my beloved, shatter this prison of false self and absorb me in the ocean of your infinite divine being as a drop of water in the sea, that I shall know without doubt or reservation that you and I are not we, but one. And that became my only prayer. That became my only prayer, morning, noon, night. It was like a mantra to me. Sometimes I repeated it incessantly, not just as an afterthought or a side thought, but as the primary thing of my life. I want it out. I want it to be free. I want it to be who I really am, which is pure, divine, universal spirit, which is one and identical with the one universal God of all creation and no other. I don't care what doctrines people compose. I don't care what religious bigotry they try to put on the world. I don't care. You know, they go out and slaughter thousands or millions of people in the name of, you can't say that because my religion says it's not so. Reality will prevail. Reality will prevail. And that's the reality of it. We are, at our innermost essence and being, beyond the pale of this world, beyond the illusions of this world, beyond the delusions of this world, we are one with God and no other. You can call it blasphemy, you can call it anything you want, but it is the truth. And you can slaughter me right on this spot and it wouldn't make a bit of difference to that truth. The truth will prevail. The truth will prevail. Doesn't matter whether I'm alive or not. The truth will be alive. The truth is always alive. You can ignore it. You can deny it. You can outlaw it. You can do anything you want. But it will not go away. And so, that was my prayer. Oh my God, my beloved, my one true self. Shatter this prison of false self. And absorb me in the ocean of your infinite divine being as a drop of water in the sea, that I shall know without doubt or reservation that you and I are not we, but one. And then one day, my best friend had passed away. Life was dark. It was bleak. I drove an old Volkswagen bus and I lived in an old house, 204 North Catalina. You can go visit the house. It's up at the park at Flagler and Barrel in Redondo Beach, California. It's called the Morrell House now. That was my house. And in back there was a parking lot, and I parked my van. I'd done a lot of yoga, a lot of hatha yoga. And I could stop my breathing. I knew I could. And I knew I could stop it long enough to die. And so I said to myself, I will sit here in this car, and I will either find out what the truth is, or I will stop right here. That's how desperate I was. And remember I told you, don't do this at home, because this is a special case. All you're going to get is dead and back into this world in diapers. But I sat there, and I waited, and I prayed, and I prayed, and that prayer over and over again. And then all of a sudden, there's this beautiful monarch butterfly flying past the windshield. And something happened. There was like a flash of light, and all of a sudden I could feel myself being that butterfly. I could feel those wings, amazing muscles and everything that moves those wings on that little tiny body. And I was butterfly. It sounds like an acid trip. It wasn't. It wasn't a flashback. There was a little girl bouncing a ball next door. Her name was Bridie. And all of a sudden I went from being the butterfly to being the little girl bouncing the ball and the bouncing and everything else and the butterfly as well. And it went from there, bang, 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 bang. Get a movie called Powers of 10. Look at it. It was kind of like that, only it went beyond the edge of the universe, and there I was back into perfect final union with God again. The drop of water had returned to the sea. I was no longer the drop of water, I was the sea. You can't remain yourself and be one with God totally. But you can remain yourself and know that you are one with God totally. And there I was, back in perfect final union with God. And then God asked me to come back. And the story's on the internet. It's on YouTube. It's on our website. Read it. I don't have time to go into it because I want to talk to you about your self-realization. And I came back knowing, beyond all doubt, that God and I are not we but one. That God and you are not we but one. That's why when I began this meeting I said, Om Soham Tatvamasi. What that means is, Om, you are God, I am God, we are God. Not the God. You're not the God, and I'm not the God. But we are God the same way a drop of water or a cup of water taken from the ocean is ocean. The same way a grain of sand taken from the Sahara Desert is desert. It's sand. That we are. And in that knowingness, there's a certain kind of peace. Oh, I don't always act peaceful. Road rage, I've done it. I've had it. Sadness, yes, I've had it. My body sometimes is afraid when it thinks that this disease is going to overcome it. Angry, yeah, when I'm in a lot of pain, I can get angry. Somebody said to me, oh, my boss, you know, he's always angry, always screaming at me and everything. I said, well, what is he going through? Well, he's going through treatments for bone cancer, and he's in a wheelchair, and he's this and that. Of course he's going to be short with you. He's got this much energy, and he's got this much fear. So when you go up and misunderstand him, he's going to be really angry because you're going to take up some of that energy. Now he's got only this much energy. I understand it. We're human. We're not supermen. We're not superwomen. Just because you attain self-realization doesn't make you a superman or a superwoman. One of the greatest gurus of India, Ramakrishna, who was said to be a fully self-realized soul, died of throat cancer. And if you think for 1 minute he died with a big smile on his face, at the moment of death he may have, but getting there is a rough, rough road indeed. And it's not necessary. But what it does is it gives you a foundation for seeing this world in a completely different way. For seeing the big picture. You know, if you were in school, all you saw was math class, you'd go out of your mind, unless you're a math nut. Or if you're a math nut and all you saw was PE, you'd go out of your mind. You don't. You look at the bigger picture. Someday I'm going to graduate. Someday I'm going to go to college. Someday I'm going to be a doctor or a mechanic, something. So when you have gained this self-realization, all of a sudden you have the big picture, and it makes it tolerable, or more tolerable, to deal with this world as it is. It makes it more tolerable to live inside this prison of skin because you know that someday you're going to be liberated. And that's called self-realization. And whether you get there by direct personal experience, or whether you get there by profound belief and faith, doesn't make a bit of difference, as long as you get there. I suspect that I would have gotten there the second time, whether I believed it or not, because I'd been there the first time. There was no escape. I didn't do anything to get there the first time except fall off a flight of stairs. That's not a real high-tech thing. So you can't say, well, you did this, you did that. I'm telling you what to do. So what got me over the hump into this self-realization? What got me over the hump back into perfect final union with God? I'll tell you what it is. It's not inspiration, my friend. It's desperation. Ooh, there went another 10 listeners. Punched out right there. No, I want inspiration. I want to be inspired. I don't want that desperation stuff. Yes, you do. Yes, you do, because it's desperation that gets you there. Maybe you read some time ago, or saw the movie, about this kid that was out hiking and he got his foot caught between a couple of boulders down in a cavern. And he ended up by cutting his own foot off to get out. Baby, that ain't inspiration, that's desperation. If he was sitting around waiting for inspiration, he would have died right there. There's also a guy who was climbing, I guess it was his hand he got caught, actually. He got his hand caught between these boulders. There have been numerous stories of this, of people who survived the rigors of this world because of desperation. A lot of soldiers say, the reason I got back home is because I was desperate to get back home to my family. Now, not everybody that's desperate survives battle, but the soldiers that survive will tell you, it was my desperation to get back home to my family that brought me home. It wasn't inspiration. I wasn't sitting around reading inspiring stuff by, I don't know, whoever you read inspiring stuff by. It was desperation. And that was what got me over the hump, as they say. Got me over the top of the hill and back into perfect final union with God. That's what will get you to self-realization. When your prayer can be, as my prayer was, oh my God, my beloved, my one true self, shatter this prison of false self and absorb me in the ocean of your infinite divine being as a drop of water in the sea, then I shall know without doubt or reservation that you and I are not we, but one. And you are desperate enough for that knowledge, you will have it. I'm not even saying that you'll have a direct experience of God, but you will have that knowledge. There are a lot of things that you know that you never had direct experience of, you know. Some of them are true, some of them are false. This one is true. And that will change your whole life. It will change your whole life in a way that I can't describe, because your life is yours. It's individual. It's like the difference between stumbling around a dark room, falling over furniture, oh! And all of a sudden somebody turns on the light and you go, wow. Yeah, it's the same room, but now you see. It's the same world, but now you see the good and you see the bad and you see the big picture, which goes beyond the good and the bad and the ugly and the beautiful. And you know, I am that. Om Soham Tatvamasi. Om, I am that. You are that. You are that. You are that. It's not just that I'm that. You're that. So I will treat you differently. The adage that we run by is, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. The big fallacy in that is, suppose that you're a masochist and you want people to beat you. Does that mean you beat other people? So I say, do unto others as you would do unto God if God were standing right in front of you. Because in a very real way, when you look into the eyes of another human being, God is standing right in front of you. It's God looking at God. It's God looking out of your eyes, and it's God looking out of his eyes, or her eyes. And that's the truth. So start with the belief. If you can't start with the belief, you say, oh, that's too far out for me. At least start with the belief in the possibility. Open the door to the possibility that what I'm saying is true. You don't have to swallow it hook, line, and sinker. I'm not a cult leader. I'm not trying to get you to join a cult and give up your bank account and your car and your house and your wife and your kids and any of that stuff. My purpose in being here is twofold. That I can help you to attain self-realization within this life, and that I can get you to perfect final union with God at the end of this life through this new covenant which God has made with all souls through me. Through my 2 self-sacrifices and my vow of compassion. Look it up. Google it. It's on YouTube. If you really want to get it in condensed form, get the Holy Book of Destiny. Maitreya, the Friend of All Souls. Amazon. $12. Cheap as they'll let us put it. If they let us put it at $1, I'd put it at $1. But listen to what I'm saying. Belief is not all a lie. Belief is a beginning. When it gets bigger and it gets stronger and it gets more fullness and it gets more stamina, it's called faith. When it finally transmutes itself into the highest intensity that it can have, it's called knowledge. You see, if you talk to somebody that's a science student, and you say, how far is the Earth from the Sun? They'll say 96 point some odd million miles. Are you sure of that? Absolutely. Would you bet your house on it? Absolutely. They don't know that. 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 They Nobody knows exactly how far the earth is from the sun. It's a measurement. It depends on the instrument that's used to measure it. And we all agree that this instrument over here that's used to measure it, that's the instrument, so we'll say that that's it. See, we believe with total certainty that the sun, the earth is 96 million miles from the sun. We believe with total certainty that the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. We believe that. We don't know that. Because we really, in fact, don't know what east and west is, if you take into the account the entire galaxy and the entire universe. We only know what east and west is with regard to the two magnetic poles of the earth. North and south. So, when you take this fundamental belief that I am, Father, I am that which you are, show it to me, reveal it to me, let me know it without doubt or reservation, and you become desperate enough, when you realize your situation, when you confront your situation as a prisoner in this prison of skin, as a prisoner in this world, as a prisoner in this universe of creation, and become desperate enough to be free, then you will have it. That is what I learned. God sent me back here to find the way home to Him that any man or woman could travel. And that is it. That is it. Few people are there who will travel it, though. Most people would rather feel right than be right. Most people would rather feel good than be good. A whole lot of people would rather feel good than do good. It's here right in front of you. I have given you the key. You don't have to send me a check. You don't have to put me on your credit card. You don't have to send me a dime because you've got the key right there. Pray my prayer with all of your heart, all of your mind, and all of your soul. My God, my beloved, my one true self, shatter this prison of false self and absorb me in the ocean of your infinite divine being as a drop of water in the sea. That I will know without doubt or reservation that you and I are not we, but one. And then be desperate enough for it, and you will have it. You will have it. I promise you. The key is, can you be desperate enough? Or will you assuage the pain of confronting reality with escapes into positive thinking or into denial or into drugs or into alcohol or into sex or some other kind of thing? If you do, then you will never make it. You have to taste the bitter to enjoy the sweet. The eternal water of life lies just beyond the wall of fire. You must go through the wall of fire to get to the water of life. I'm sorry that it's that way. I'm sorry that you can't just do a little Ayurvedic medicine or be here now and get there, but you can't. You've tried it, haven't you? If you haven't, go ahead and try it. If it does it for you, write to me. You can become self-realized. People say, whoa, you have anybody that's self-realized? Yes, I do. I have 4 people right here in this room. Well, some of them are not here now, but they're usually in this room, who are self-realized. They are absolutely 100% certain that beyond the pale of this world, they are one and identical with God. You could torture them, and they might tell you, nah, okay, I'm not. One of my favorite guys was Galileo. Galileo said that we don't live in an Earth-centric universe or solar system. We live in a heliocentric solar system, which means the sun is the center. But the religious authority of the day said that the Earth is the center of the universe. And Galileo said, no, that's not true. So they hauled him before the council. And they said, you have one chance to recant. And then we're going to cut your head off. We're going to kill you. He said, okay, I recant. That's it. Nope. The earth is definitely the center of the universe. He said, whatever I say isn't going to make any difference. What is the center of the solar system is still the center of the solar system, no matter what I say. So, okay, you're right. I'm wrong. So they let him live. You know what? The sun is still the center of the solar system. So, this is the way that is right in front of you all the time. It's just that so few people will take it. It's my hope that I've done something here tonight, to some degree, in some way, to touch your heart and to touch your mind and to touch your very spirit and extend my hand to you and say, come, take my hand, get out of this prison of skin. At least understand that you're not this prison of skin. Know for certain you're not this prison of skin. Know for certain you're not trapped in the endless rounds of birth, life, suffering, sickness, fear, pain, sorrow, old age, and death. But that you can go through hell and go through heaven and end up in perfect final union with God if you will receive His new covenant and fulfill it according to His instructions. Know also that you, yes, you, ineffectual, timid, low self-esteem, you can help me to reach out to the souls of this world and create a divine critical mass that will spread God's new covenant into the hearts of all souls, and every soul will have the opportunity to go home into perfect final union with God at the end of his life. We can achieve universal salvation and liberation. And to help with those who say we can't, because they don't know. They're theorizing from a base of their own religious bigotry. I know that we can do this if we will join together. I know that we can do this if you will find your own self-realization. And don't let anybody try to tell you that because you haven't had the flash of light or some great experience of that sort that you don't have self-realization. Self-realization comes softly. It grows, and all of a sudden it blossoms into the light of true enlightenment. You can have it. You can get it on your own. But if you will come, and if you will receive holy initiation, if you receive God's new covenant and supreme promise, your chances are so much better. And the road is so much smoother. It's still steep, but it's smoother. The road home is very steep. The road that got you here is very steep. But you can get home. You can walk this path, and by joining together as Maitreyans, you can help one another. You can never take over another person's role. You can't fulfill another person's karma. But you can help one another. The old saying, and I've forgotten the Greek philosopher who first said it, it was Sophocles or somebody like that, is that one stick alone can be broken easily, but a bundle of sticks tied together can't be broken. It's no excuse, and I know you don't like this word, a lot of you. It's no excuse that the word religion means that which binds together. That which binds together. It's a hard road out there all by yourself. You can do it. Some can do it. But when you join together with your brothers and sisters, yes, it has a downside. Everything has a downside. But the upside is that together you can help one another. And if someone falls, you can help pick them up. You don't carry them because you can't on this road, but you can pick them up and help them to walk again. And they can pick you up and help you to walk again. So we have this holy community called the Maitreya Sangha. You can be part of it. The best thing here is if you come to give, not to get. For it is in giving that we receive. And truly, as the books and the prophets and the saints have said, it is more blessed to give than to receive. The way I put it is, if your hands are dirty and your face is dirty, you can wash your hands and your face will still be dirty. But if you wash your face, both your hands and your face will become clean. By giving yourself selflessly into the service of getting God's new covenant to other souls and creating divine critical mass, to bring forth the age of universal God, the pure divine truth, and win universal salvation and liberation for all souls, you also will find that your own self-realization comes easy. If you have the guts, if you have the courage, if you have the will, if you're tired of living in a prison of skin, a beautiful, wonderful, fantastic, phasmatanatorium, or whatever you want to call it, prison of skin, like that beautiful mansion. If you're tired of being pulled back into this world time after time after time to suffer and sorrow and die and be born again, if you want to know the truth and be set free, then pursue self-realization. But balance it off by pursuing the act of giving God's new covenant and supreme promise to other souls. I don't charge you to get it. You can't charge to give it. Truly, God blesses the receiver, but God glorifies the giver. God blesses the receiver, but God glorifies the giver. So come, practice this. Be desperate. Pray my prayer. Remember me. Call upon me to be there with you in spirit, and I will do everything in my power to be there to help you. But don't call upon me to numb your skull, to dull down the pain, because it is in desperation that we find the door to liberation. It is in desperation that we find the door to liberation. Inspiration's nice, but it is in desperation that we find the door to liberation. God bless you and keep you and all those you cherish and love. Om Soham Tatvamasi. Om, you and I are one with the one universal God of all creation and no other. Jai Bhagavanji, victory to God the beloved, that beloved universal I am that I am, which you are. All victory and glory to God the beloved.